Hello, my name's Dave Wilson. Welcome back to another exciting instalment of garden flowers for bumblebees. So I'm going to just take you on a quick tour of what's in flower in my garden now in the middle of July and see what bees and other insects we can see. So first up this month we have marjoram, a really good herb to grow. Useful for cooking and fantastic for bees. Flowers for quite a long time. Not just bees actually, there's loads of other stuff on here. There's a really rather splendid tachinid fly there at the front. Get lots of little solitary bees on here, bumblebees, honeybees. There's a honeybee at the back but you probably can't quite see it. Actually I've just spotted something rather cool. I don't know whether you can see this very well, but right in the middle of frame is a rather splendid white crab spider. It's a shame the wind is blowing and making him move around. Yeah, hopefully you can just about make him out. So he's white, they sit on flowers, they're camouflaged, look like part of the flower, and of course they're waiting for a bee or a fly to come along. And if one does, they'll grab it. He's looking a bit nervous, he doesn't like me filming him. If I get too close, he's out of focus anyway. Hey, that's a crab spider. One of the perils of being a bee is looking out for those beasties. There we've got a honeybee buzzing about. Okay, let's go on to the next flower. Okay, the next one is this rather beautiful plant, salvia forscaoli, which has a really cool mechanism. Those aren't my hands, they're my son's. And if you see, he's trying to mimic a bee putting its tongue into the flower. And you can see as the bee's head goes in, the anthers of the flower are triggered and they swing down and dob pollen onto what would be the back of the bee, in this case onto the grass stem. Really cool, neat little mechanism for putting the pollen in exactly the right place on the bee, and making sure that when it goes to another flower of the same species it gets picked up by the anthers. Kind of reduces pollen wastage. It's also rather a splendid plant, so let's just pan out a bit. It's kind of a bit straggly, I'll admit, but it's really popular with long-tongued bees, and I seem to get quite a lot of leafcutter bees on here as well, which is rather nice. So there you go, salvia forscaoli. Next one, I just can't resist showing you this. Of course everyone knows that lavender is good for bees, but here it is, lavender. It's a really standard cottage garden plant, but really beautiful. Flowers from sort of beginning of July right through to August, and if it weren't such a cold and windy day it might not look like it, because I know the sun's shining, but it's really not very good for insects today. But so there's not a single bee on here at the moment, but trust me, they love it, and I'm sure they'll be back. It's particularly good for the shorter tongued bumblebees and honeybees and all sorts. Okay, so that's lavender. And this one's purple toadflax, Linearia purpureum, which has these really cool flowers with nectar tubes. So the nectar's hidden at the end of a little tube, which is probably going to be impossible to see. But there's a little curly tube. You can just see one sticking out next to my thumb there, maybe. Curves down under the flower, and the nectar's right at the bottom here. So only long-tongued bees tend to visit these. You get common carders but mainly garden bumblebees on them. These just seed themselves in my garden all over the place. You can see this is a nice one, just appeared on its own. They're scattered all over the garden, and long may they continue. Beautiful, beautiful flowers. And this one is spiked speedwell, Veronica spicata. Really nice, delicate, slender spikes of flowers, and right here in front of us we've got a southern cuckoo bumblebee male having a good drink on the nectar. Rather handsome little chap. So spiked speedwell, nice all-round plant for a whole range of bees, really easy to grow, perennial. Squeeze one in here. Oh, there was a meadow brown just came flying past. There was one of those visiting this earlier. And to finish off, this one's a bit controversial. If you know your flowers at all, you'll recognise this as a terrible weed. This is ragwort, Senecio jacobea. Often persecuted, wiped out, herbicided, obliterated, pulled up, absolutely loathed by horse lovers, because it is poisonous, and if it gets into hay and they eat it, then that's bad. But it is a fantastic wildflower for insects, not just bees. But in front of us there's a male red-tailed bumblebee, there's two small solitary bees, I can't work out what species they are, right in front of me. We've got soldier beetles, we get butterflies, gatekeepers, small skippers, all sorts of things. It's just alive. So not everyone would have this in their flower border, it has to be said. But why not? Look at it. It's absolutely beautiful and crawling with insects. Really easy to grow, as you might guess. You get cinnabar moth caterpillars on here if you're lucky too, which are really beautiful moths when they come out. And why not? The only thing I would say is don't let it seed, deadhead it before the seeds go everywhere, or else you might end up with a little more ragwort than you'd actually intended. But that's the only downside. I think it's really wonderful. One of the most pretty plants in the garden at the moment. Look at all that. Fantastic. In fact, my flower border has been taken over with ragwort, and worse things could happen. Okay, there you have it for July. Not a very long list of plants this month, I have to say, but it makes me realise that I need to get planting some more. There's some obvious things I'm really missing in my garden. I'd love to have a load of scabious and knapweed and globe thistles and so on. I've got seedlings, but they're not flowering yet, but maybe next year. So, signing out, I'll see you next month. Bye.